Okay, we are live. Hey there, everybody. Good to see you. Oh man, haven't looked in the mirror yet. I got out of bed. All right, I'm going to continue the painting that I did last Monday. I thought it appropriate to finish that up this Monday. I really stewed on it. I looked at it. I thought of some things, so I'm going to try to apply. What I noticed. I'm curious who is present right now. This was very last minute, very spontaneous. I wasn't sure if I'd have time to do the live painting this morning, and as it turned out, I did. I'm excited to be here. All right, I see some of you viewing right off of the YouTube platform, as well as some of my faithful super peer um, audience as well. Thank you for being here, everybody. Good to see you, Jan, Judy, Patty. Good seeing you all here. And so, if you are on the Super Peer platform, then you can call in. You can use the little button on your uh, screen that has a little raise hand function over in the chat. You can leave questions. You can raise your hand. You can call in and talk to me. I got my little earpiece, and so that if anybody wants to do that, you can. Because it's hard for me to read comments and questions when I'm turned around painting. So anybody that wants to come on and talk to me, you can just use that. If you're watching from YouTube, you're welcome to come and subscribe for free on this platform, Super Peer. I'm going to put that, I'm going to show you exactly what that is, and then we're going to get right to the painting. I'm going to show you the platform that I'm actually live streaming from at the moment. So ignore this. This right here is my color app, and we're going to instead go to here. I was researching. Look, this was our last lesson here on this platform. I do two of them each week, was on motion, shapes of motion. So anyway, we're going to go to Super Peer. So SUPERPEER, superpeer.com. You can see it there at the top. If you go to this platform, it's pretty new. It's up and coming, and I've been on it for just not too long of a time. And it's like a classroom, think of live video calls where you can go both ways, talk to me. And so then if you just search for Joe here, let's go to update. Oh, we can't update that right now. Oh, okay, never mind. What we're going to do is just scroll on let's go to public profile here. There you go. So this is what you see. If you just search for Joe Cornelius, it looks like it's Joe Cornelius there. Search for me on Super Peer, then you can see we have a live video going right now. You can subscribe here for free when you watch from this platform. You can call me and talk to me while I'm on this live platform, and I'll get a little notifications, with a little hand raise button. It's pretty cool. It works good. There's also a little community tab here. You can make comments, you can do things. And I post 2 videos every single week. I stream live. We do a live painting practice lesson 2 times each week. It's been on Mondays and Thursdays. Okay, enough of that. If anybody wants to call in and read comments off to me, you can do that if you like. No pressure. This is just having fun, killing time on a Saturday morning, so I'm going to paint. Now, what I was thinking on this picture behind me, I forget who it was. I think it was, there's somebody, I'm trying to remember the username, maybe Diamond, maybe something like that. Maybe I got that wrong. Paradise, something like that. And pose the question, how do you, what is, or at least it was a conversation. I don't remember the initial question. How do you create the downward perspective, like you're looking down at something? If you raise the horizon, or maybe it was, where do you decide, what does making the horizon go up or down do? And I was thinking, well, technically, I could take this picture and crop it anywhere I wanted, and the horizon would be high if I cropped it here. It would be low if I cropped it here. So really, the position of the horizon is not the one difference maker in whether you're looking down or up. And then I said, although if I was looking down, I'd put the horizon up here so I could see all the picture that I'm looking down at. You know, I would do that strategically for the layout of my picture, because it'd be kind of weird if I just took this picture as is and cropped it right here. You know, that might be weird when I have all of this content. Anyway, this is it. I realized as I was thinking this over, and we were talking about perspective. Where is yesterday's? We have from 2 days ago, we have a practice board. And so on this practice board that we did, oh, hang on. I hear someone beeping in here. Let me go over here. Give me a second. Hey there, Chase. How you doing, buddy? I'm going to let you connect for a minute while I get this. Okay. This was last Thursday, just 2 days ago. This was the practice. We were talking about shapes of motion. And so in this picture, I just want to point out the big difference that I have. I'm connecting Chase right now. Hey there, Chase, buddy. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? I'm watching.
Yeah, I sure can. How are you? Good?
I didn't get. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay.
Okay. So how you doing?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. What time is it where you are?
I'm gonna have to mess around with my computer for a second so I can
Okay, do that. Talk to me when you're ready. No problem. I'll just leave you connected. Talk to me when you're ready. I'll continue on this. So here we have shapes that are stretched out vertically. That's what creates the downward angle. So think of a wide angle versus a narrow angle on a camera. I'll show you what that means on the whiteboard, and I'm going to use that in my painting. So that's why it's worth talking about. But here I have things very scrunchy, very flat. See all my shapes going this way? The lower they get, the more they stretch out vertically. So see, long shapes like this right here don't exist up in here. I squished them all down to very short shapes, and then I allowed the wide shapes to continue while I squished those. So just a perspective change. But when you have that huge amount of change and you include in your picture the downward angle of it all getting stretched to the bird's eye view, you know, the overhead angle, that's what creates the downward view, even more than putting the horizon at the top or bottom. That's it. So it's the wideness of the angle. If we cropped it here, we wouldn't see all these angles. We would just see the far out angles. And so that's you know, if you're not familiar with like photography terms or videography terms, a wide or a narrow angle is referring to, you know, how much, you know, what's the difference in angles that's in your view. So in this view, all the angles are very similar. It's all just right out there. But if I expand this, we're looking through a GoPro camera. We can see what's on the right, we see what's on the left. And because of these kinds of changes, we get distortion where the angles are one thing here, one thing here, one thing here. It's a very wide angle. So when I have that extreme change, I don't have to mess with the whiteboard to do that. You get the point. So when I look at this picture, I'm realizing, hey, I could really improve that feeling of this gradually moving to the wide angle with a few different things. I've got some very horizontal lines that continue way down into my foreground. And so that kind of flattens my, or what does it do? It kind of causes a background feel on what I want to be more like foreground. I want that downward angle, but I have these very straight waves. And so I'll just put more shapes in here like that. I'll put more curves on rocks. This plant is another thing that's interfering with that. I've got this tree coming down, staying real straight like this, but hey, I want to be kind of looking down. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to adjust these things. I also toyed around with my technique here. I've got, for all of my little squigglies in the water, all of these things right here, I've got some more watered down paint. So I pre-mixed my light colors to do the caustics, as it's called. And the reason I pre-mixed it was so that I could water it down. So when you water down, how's it coming along, Chase? Do I have you on the line? You having any luck there? I don't know. I don't know if things are working on Chase. I can hear you.
There seems to be a delay on this computer, and
Ah,
I don't know if it's. I'm worried that it's not going to work well, and I would run upstairs and grab my other computer, but as you know, I'm not doing any.
yeah. Well, no pressure.
And
No
I get
pressure.
back
If you want to
down.
just call back, when you get it figured out, that's fine.
Okay, I'll do that. Okay,
Okay, no problem. Good hearing from you,
I'll be
though.
right back.
All right, see you,
What's
Chase.
that?
Good hearing
I'll be
from you.
back.
Okay. All right, we'll let Chase get that worked out. And if anybody else wants to call in, you do it just like that. It's just a button. You do it from that Super Peer platform. Okay, so I'm putting black and white to get my lights and shadows. And I'm going to start out with maybe doing the bottom of my tree. And oh, there's Mavis. I'd love to talk to you, Mavis. I'm connecting you right now. And so I'm going to need some yellow here as well. Let's put yellow up in here. If I put too much paint on, it's all going to kind of bleed together. So we won't do this. We'll have some fun and do some bright green today. We'll do this. We can always kill it with black. So phthalo green and yellow is the brightest green that I can make. Right there, that's like a phthalo green. Okay, I have you connected. Mavis, how are you?
Hey, good. I'll just fill in till Chase gets back.
Okay, perfect. That's great. Okay, how's the weather down there in Prescott?
It
Is
is
that
just
where you're coming from?
oh yeah, borderline perfect. I bet it's not bad in Flag this morning.
No, it was real pretty. I rode my bike. To the studio this morning. So that was a lot of fun. I think I'll throw some orange in here too. So, I could include Mavis. We were talking about patterns of motion yesterday. I could include that if I were good enough. I don't know if I have the skills to do something so tedious, but it could be done where I include that same drift pattern in my little squiggly lines that are in here. I could actually do that pattern to show waves that are drifting.
I vote.
I'm not
I
sure
vote that you do it because I think it was amazing.
Okay, I'll give it a shot. Okay, so what I can do, what's fun about using this watered down paint is that the watered down paint scoots out of the way. So if I put some right here, this is my yellower. I did a yellower and a greener for the shallower water and the deep water. So for example, this is just a trick, just a technique. This paint is very watery. Now, before that paint gets too dry, I'm going to come down here and mix my darker color. And that would have been like yellow, black, and orange right here. Here's my darker color. Now, this paint is not so watery. So when I come in here and put little splotches of it, the light paint will scoot out of the way while the heavy paint sticks in place better. And the effect of that is that I get skinnier, more detailed little squiggles in my pattern. So, I have a little bit more freedom to manipulate my shapes, my motion in here. And what happens, you can see as I'm messing with this, getting more and more of the paint and squishing it on, you can see that the thinner paint just kind of squishes out of the way and leaves that skinnier texture. So I think this is a little bit of an easier method. See how I can get these real close. So when I accidentally get if I have if both paints are the same thickness, when they get super close to each other, they just mix and overlap. But this squeezes the thin paint kind of to the top of the surface. So you can see I'm getting much finer texture on this than what I got last week when I was doing that. So, you know, it's something you can try out. So I go down here and get this. Now this time I'll grab a little of this one and mix it in so that we can go into slightly deeper water. Okay, so let's go up here like this. And I'll still put a lot of my yellower color. Okay, so this is my bright color. And now I'm going to start mixing in here a color that is slightly more of my deeper underwater color. So I'll grab a little bit of this phthalo green and how did I make that here? I think I had blue in there when I made that, but we don't need it yet. We'll do phthalo green, black, and we'll mix it in with this. We'll just make this a little bit greener. Let's try that color. Then we go here and like this. There we go. And then, you know, where it gets closer, I'll put a touch more orange, you know, where I get to the shallower water, because I want that gradient that goes from deep water to shallow water. So I'm trying to get more orange as I go to the shallow part and more of my turquoise watercolor as I move to the deeper parts. And what preserves the, oh, we're going to see if Chase got his problem resolved here. Give him a chance here. And so what preserves, like I was saying, the little squiggly strokes as I'm messing with this is because it's so watery, it scoots out of the way. All right, I'm going to put a little bit more of this. I see you there, Chase. Give me a moment to connect you, buddy. All right, we're going to do this.
Before I get off, I just want to say that Carolina Rivera is coming from Chile.
Hey, all right, man, that's a part of the world I would love to go see, man. I painted a picture of Torres del Paine. I think I said that really wrong just now, but you know, I don't know how to say it properly. The beautiful mountain that's down there in Chile. And man, it just looks like an amazing place to visit. Just amazing. So
yeah, she says
watching.
Unfortunately she doesn't have a translator, so her message was in Spanish, so it took me a while to get to my
okay, very good. Okay. Well, I'm trying to learn Spanish. You know, there's a lot of Spanish used here in Arizona, so it's I'm working on it little by little, but I don't know enough to do my own translations here. So
yeah, you and me both.
Yeah, but man, I appreciate you watching all the way from Chile. Wow, that's awesome. Okay, so you know, I can spend as much time as I need to on this. My paint dried there, so you know, I was working on other stuff. My paint dried, but you can see I'm starting to get some interesting shapes squiggling through. It has this kind of that marbled, finer look that I'm after, and that very watered down color helps me to do that. So I think the hard part here is then mixing the color of my thicker paint to go in between. We'll do a couple more, then I'll move. I want to work my way over to some rocks that are going to come out from under this bush. I said, okay. I better work on my English before I try to learn Spanish. Okay. Now the next step, we're going to put some of my colors on here again. So we go here, put that in here. This is my more turquoise color here. I think that maybe needs a little bit of yellow. Perhaps I need to adjust that color. I'm going to do that. I'm going to adjust this color. This is looking so blue on the canvas. I'm feeling like it just needs a touch of yellow in the mix. So we're just going to put a little bit in there. There we go. We'll just stir that around. Adjust my color. You know, paint maintenance is so important. Everything I do, I realize I get so caught up in just trying to, like when you're an artist, you tend to get caught up in talent battles. Where you're battling, you're like, I know I can do this. I have to be able to do this. Why isn't this coming out right? And you just end up fighting your painting. And you can forget about the practical things like maintaining the texture of the paint, making sure the shape of the brush is just, I get caught up in those anyway. I'm speaking for myself.
So how do you, so what do you consider to be the maintenance of your paint? Stirring it up and adding water?
Yeah, stirring it from time to time to make sure it doesn't skin over, because even watered down paint can get thick on the top of the surface when it's this water-based paint. And so it only takes a few seconds to stir it up and return it to that better viscosity at the top where you're dipping the brush. But I'm always, for some reason, just not doing that. And I'm just so hyper focused on the task at hand, and I don't do that. So it's just good. I have to remind myself that that's important.
So
All right, here
Carolina says, I love painting self-taught nature.
Oh, okay, cool. That's beautiful. Where can we see your work, Carolina? I'm curious.
Oh, I
If
better
we
go to the
can.
translator to ask.
Yeah. Oh, I see. You're translating that. Okay. All right. Well, if we can take a look, that would sure be fun. I could do that. Okay, so I'm doing the same thing, just putting patches of darker color, getting more orange as I move closer. And I'm trying to, I'm making an effort to try to swoop my strokes this way a little bit, just to try to get that look I was talking about of the downward perspective. I'm trying not to make everything so horizontally squished here. Okay, so up higher, I'm going to use more of this phthalo green. Let's put that in there. This is the deeper water, so I'll get more of that turquoise in it. Like this. Okay, there we go. Let's put that in like that color. I end up being so careful when the truth is you can just redo things. Okay, and then as I get closer, I'm going to go more orange. So down here, I have more of my orange, which just makes it kind of grayish brown when it's said and done.
So we got a question here, Joe. It's from Black Diamond. It says,
Okay,
Joe,
okay.
Your observation, imagination, and drawing skills are amazing. Did you start drawing as a baby?
Yeah, I did.
Face.
3 years old, depends what you call a baby. I never stopped. The moment I picked up a pencil, I was 3 years old. My mom still has the drawing. I was drawing before that, but that was the first recognizable picture. I drew a turtle. It was like this kind of a thing. This was my first drawing ever. You'll get a kick out of this. My very first drawing was like this, and like
Oh,
this.
adjust your camera a little bit there, Joe. Can't see the
Oh,
full
whoops, my bad.
whiteboard.
My bad.
Okay,
It's
there
like
you go.
this, and I think the head might have been just a triangle, or I can't remember what I did, but I was 3 years old. I drew a turtle like that, something similar to that. That's my first drawing, and it was therapy when I was very small. It was such therapy. I didn't really identify it until later in life of why I stuck to drawing. Why did I stick to it where others found interest in other things? It was just because I get such feelings out of lines. I would draw, I would say, oh, I like the way the shape of this. I'd find a dinosaur I liked and say, oh, I love the way that line comes down right there. I was a lover of lines. Oh yeah, that head comes down. Like the curves of those lines had such instant feeling for me. I just got lost in it, So when I was real little, I started drawing dinosaurs, and they were real awkward. There we go. We drew a dinosaur. I just loved the curves and shapes of lines. We had old wallpaper from the 80s, that maybe 70s, I don't know. It was old, and that wallpaper had lots of shapes in it. And I would look at the wallpaper, and the shapes would stand out. And then I would see shapes everywhere, and I just was a lover of those things. And so I wanted to reproduce them and enjoy the lines I was making. I went through phases where I was drawing sharks because I loved the flowing lines. I drew horses because I loved the flowing lines. I got into drawing muscle men and bodybuilders because I loved all the lines of muscular form. I got into all kinds of stuff as a pretty young child. And so I didn't realize until I got older that that was somewhat of a unique journey. Just what was unique, I think, was the level of attention span. The attention span just never died. It never went away. I was capable of doing it all day, every day. So I don't think I'm any kind of a genius. I think my attention span just tends to be way longer than ordinary. That's all. All right. So now I'm going to try to blend.
Hey, Joe, can you hear me?
I sure can. How are you?
Okay, I'm good. I had to switch computers and places in the house. So
okay.
I asked Mavis if she wanted to keep going, but she said no.
Okay. Well,
That's right. I can hear you loud and clear, so I'm out of here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for filling in the gap there. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Mavis.
Yep.
Okay. We'll see ya. So, how are you doing, Chase?
I'm okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Took me a little while to get up the steps in my current leg condition, but
oh man. Yeah, right. Yeah, you're having trouble with that leg. Oh
well,
man, do you still have it? Is it still on you?
I still on the 19th they're taking it off, so there'll probably be a few streams where I'm not around for.
Oh, understandable, man. Oh, you're losing a part of your leg. I can't believe that.
I know.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that things are moving forward for you.
Thank you. I'm excited to just get on with living my life rather than
right. Yeah, for anybody that doesn't know, this has been an ongoing story with Chase that he's shared. He's been stuck in a bed for a long time because of an infection. So he's looking forward to moving forward. That's redundant. Looking forward to getting out of that bed and being able to do things again. So
yeah, absolutely.
Man, I don't envy you having to give up your leg though. Gosh.
I know it's like one of those things. Like, not that I think that that it shouldn't happen to me, but you always just think, wow, that's kind of one of those things that happens to somebody else. Not even being mean about it, but it's just like, oh, that'll.
Right. I understand exactly what you mean. Yeah. It's the kind of stuff you see happen to people. You never think you're going to be the next one.
Right.
Right. Understood. I think that's describes me just perfect. I always feel that way. Surely not me,
Right.
So, well, I'm encouraged by your attitude and your transparency about it. It kind of makes me feel less fearful of unfortunate events in my own life when someone like yourself is lighthearted enough about it. That's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So it's your job now. You're telling me if there's any important things to read off to tend to there. If there's something that needs to be talked about, you just let me know.
It seems like we have a pretty big group today, or
okay, nice. There's a lot of YouTube traffic viewing today because this is on the stream where it can be set up. This isn't our usual super peer only environment.
Okay, gotcha.
So we got YouTube hooked up also, so it will be bigger. And I did that last week, so I thought, hey, I should continue doing that this week too. That'd be fun to try to finish this painting a little bit more. So here I am doing just that. It's kind of fun doing this effect, but I'm thinking, man, is this going to take up the whole time? It's taken more time than I anticipated. So I'm
I've
going to try to
noticed
speed things in.
I've noticed lately, Joe, but
Yeah.
might just be me, but I mean, I know you love seafoam, and
Uh-huh.
it really
Okay.
puts the finishing touches on things. But lately, I've watched you put a lot of foam on, and then cut the image like you exactly what you're doing now, like
Uh-huh.
filling in the other parts and letting the caustics be the negative space.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. Well,
Have you?
it's,
I
go
like it.
ahead.
Does it
Good.
work better? Do you feel like it works better for you?
Well, the pattern in my work is always discovering something, then overusing it, and then falling back to a balancing point where okay, I've learned how to use it now, and I've used it more than I need. That's the pattern. Every time I look at my old work, I think, gosh, I was so excited about that one effect. I used it everywhere. And so I'm probably just arriving at the point where I don't feel like I need to put seafoam all over every single part because I'm satisfied. you know, that's the way it seems to go with my work.
Um, Maybe it's just asking what are caustics?
Oh, as I understand, it's this resulting light pattern from the magnifying glass effect on the waves, distorting, focusing the light down to those skinny squiggles. And so I think caustics refers to the effect on the light. I think that's what it refers to, where it's bending it like a magnifying glass. And it's kind of fun to think of that, if I look into caustics, it gives me insight to why waves can be so illuminated sometimes. I have a good picture I took from our local lake that would demonstrate that well, but I don't want to kill time pulling up another photo. I'll show it another time. But uh, when the light comes through the wave, each side of the wave pulls the light toward the middle. So this side pulls the light toward the middle, this side pulls the light toward the middle. And if the ground is at the right distance, it turns it into a line. But if there's no ground there, light is just coming together to an intense bright spot, and you get light in the middle of a wave from that as well. So it's a cool effect. So it's, that light in the wave is a lot of the times, I think, an immediate effect of those caustics, as it's called. Okay, I'm getting ready to put some rocks in here pretty soon. I'm just putting my last little bits of sand. I'm mixing yellow, orange, phthalo green for this color. You can see my three. I got the orange, the yellow, and the green all here in the middle. I think I put some white in there, but I think I just let this color be the white. I think I let that first color I put down be that. Okay, so I'm just gonna put my little dark spots. I'm starting to get too caught up in details here. I can feel myself getting a bit obsessed, but this is good progression from last week's take on this. I'm feeling like these are better results for the effort, like a bigger payoff for the same amount of trouble by just using that pre-mixed watered down paint. I've got kind of a collection of colors in here. They're not all exactly fine-tuned or anything. All right. So in here, I'll speed up a little bit, and I'll just start putting this is that same watered down color, but rather than being real careful, I'm just going to start putting my deep water color on there. So here's my blue and green mix. I'll put just a little black maybe, so it's not so intense. Maybe a little orange. It's still not way out there at sea. So let's see what this does. A little bit of orange for the dirt color. There we go. Let's grab some of that, put it in there. Here, this is That should work. I'm being a lot less careful just so I can get more progress on my painting. So the goal here is to really have shapes that are less flattened in the front. You know, I've got rounder shapes right there. And then as I work my way out to sea, I want to really flatten those. But, you know, it's not like you would see these shapes go very far. I don't think so. You know, this is something you would expect to see in the shallow water. Oh, that's kind of fun. I can go over it with my lighter color. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, let's try that again. Let's go dark underwater colors. Here's orange and phthalo green, orange for my dirt. There we go. I like that color. I'm going to put yellow. I'm just going to build my gradient here. Orange, a lot of orange right there. Orange and yellow. And then, yeah, I like those colors. Now, instead of lightening it with white, I'm going to take my watered down colors, these right here, and go in here and lighten it with this, because that I think is simultaneously going to give me those little squiggles I'm after. Look how it just scoots out of the way and does the squiggles. All right, that's perfect. That's what I need right there. Look, I got the little squiggles in there. Now I'm going to use my yellower color right here.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
Art Bunny says, I have been watching you paint for years and you've always been an inspiration for me. Have you ever gone through art block? If so, do you have advice for getting out of it?
Yes.
Maybe that's artist block?
Yes, I know exactly what you're saying. Yes, very frustrating. You know, at the time when I was trying to generate pieces on canvas for, and you know, I was trying to do things on canvas that I could sell. And people would tell me over and over, oh, you should do some canvases and then try to sell them. You know, you could sell your work. So I would try. And everything I started, I ended up hating the next day. And so what I needed was to get outside of my own ideas. Doing commission work was the way out for me. That's what it was for me. I'm not saying that that's your way out, but maybe there is a valuable connection between getting out of your own artist block. Like, let's say that's your own headspace, perhaps. And so doing something for somebody else according to a request, in my experience, has been helpful in getting out of that, so that you're not invested in the idea. You're trying to execute someone else's idea. You're trying to be the instrument to bring someone else's vision to life at that point, instead of trying to bring your own. And in where that can sound like a chore, you're like, oh yeah, but I want to do my own ideas. Yeah, but if you're stuck in your own headspace, then maybe that's not as good of a thing. You know, just a thought. Okay, so now I'm starting to just put some reflection color. It is just black and white. I put some gray on top of this, just to start making the color look a little more reflective. I don't know if that's a good move. I'm just thinking maybe it is, because I'm starting to get a little further back on my water right there. And then I'm even going to put in my having this watered down paint here. This is the same thing I've got all these squiggles made of. This is such a handy little thing to have. That very watery paint. It's got to be done when it's wet still. My paint has to still be wet for this to really have this effect. But you know, you think of skinny lines being painted with a skinny brush, making that skinny line, but this is fun because it's what's left in between the much easier to produce fat blobby shapes. And I am really enjoying that freedom that it gives me. Okay, so we've got that there. I'm blending this way. I'm going to put a rock in this water. And so we're going to use orange, black, white. So down here on my palette, we'll put some orange. This will be my function as my mid-tone. It's going to get mixed with gray, but that'll work as a mid-tone for me to just come right down here And instead of seeing these flat shapes come all the way down, I want to really improve the perspective on this by putting like the round base of a rock. So let me just get a rock formed first. We're going to do a gray mixed with the orange, and I'm going to make sure that it kind of curves on the bottom so that it feels like the water's wrapping around it, just like that. Okay, and then I'm going to put shadows. I've got light coming from this way in my painting, so I'll put shadows on this side and then just start carving my shape, just using the long end of the brush. Start carving that shape. I don't want a lot of orange on there. Maybe I'll turn it more yellow too. Just a touch of yellow in there. Then it won't be such a reddish colored rock. It's just preference. It's not a right or wrong issue, you know, just what's my vision for the rock color I'm trying to make. I kind of like those, look at those squiggly black lines, made an interesting formation in the rock. I don't know if I'll leave that. Here's some light. Now I put the light over the color, not over the black, because that's where it's going to actually look like light. Light can add color. That's what color is. It's light, you know. So when we lighten something, we don't want to lighten a colorless shadow because then we get a strange gray result. So if I lighten the colored area, I get a much more lifelike highlight on my rock. Now I'm going to make this rock go back under this plant. So I'm going to use little strokes like this that get darker, 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 so that can go under and then the plant can come over. But I'll do that. My paint is starting to dry, so I'm going to pull off of it and then I'll just apply more. But my next thing to do is going to be to make a underwater color on this rock. So I'm going to add my turquoise right here to this, and I'm just going to cut a line. I'm just going to slice this right where I think that rock meets the water surface. So I'm going to make sure I put plenty of curve to it like this so that it looks like it's in the foreground. I want that downward angle, real wide angle. So a lot of my picture will be devoted to downward angles in order to feel like I'm really looking down on my scene. Okay, we're getting closer. This is closer. Therefore, I want less of my underwater color in it. So I'm going to add my orange and yellow, get more of a gold in there, just like the rock. There we go. The orange will really, really cancel that green tone. And now I'm going to just lighten it a little here. I'll just use my watered down color I mixed for my caustics. Look at this. Now here's an interesting effect where brightly lit water wraps around something into a shadow. You can have the underwater being lighter than the above water. So that's why I can get away with a light line like that on the front of this rock, because the water is illuminated and that light gets trapped in that water and travels around to shadows. You know, like if you're sitting in it, I always talk about the jacuzzi. I study water from my jacuzzi. And so you can observe that at night when you turn the lights on in the water. Obviously, you have all that. You have that sharp line where what's under the water is lighter than what's above the water. So I can use that same effect on my little rock here just for fun. And look, I'll change the directions of my highlights to see how I bent it like that, because that when something goes under a surface like this, it flattens the image. The distortion on it flattens the image. So I'm going to squish it. Now it gets darker, greener as it goes back. There we go. See, that adds depth for me. I've got that rock under the water. Now I just need to touch up my little spot here. So we'll put my deep water colors again. There's the green and the blue. Here's a little bit of orange. I think I used orange in there right here. Now my goal is to get rid of that unattractive little spot right there by the rock. So green and orange. Now here's my light colored caustics color. There's this, and I'm going to use this to lighten any of my foreground water. I just go in here and lighten this. That should get it down to the colors that I'm seeing all over the place. There we go. And you just stroke this around. So something that normally is annoying, I remember thinking on many occasions, this is annoying. I'm trying to get smooth blending on this and it's all streaky. And then I realized that's because one paint is thicker than the other paint. That's where these little streaks come from. And so then it was a light bulb moment. Hey, what if I needed streaks? What if I needed really fine little streaks? I could use this technique, making one paint thinner than the other to get that effect. Much easier than painting a million little squiggly lines in the right places. And I think it kind of mimics nature a little bit better. The concept of the dark in between those is a shadow. It's a shadow of the wave, and so you're painting the shadows of the waves. Just something to think about. All right, I'm going to paint another rock in there. We'll go orange right here. We'll do another one. We're going to have to say goodbye to those purple flowers right there. How's things looking on your end, Chase?
Things are looking pretty good.
Okay, good. No technical failures happening or anything like that.
No, and my technical failures seem to be fixed. So.
Okay, right. Hey, you're not the only one. I've got a long list of those, long history of having technical problems.
You can figure them out. If I get one, I just stand there. I don't know what to do with computers.
What do I do? Yeah, oh man, I feel you. Yeah, I feel the same way. You only have room to understand so many things in life. Yeah. So are you going to keep cooking stuff, Chase? You going to keep doing culinary?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I've kind of looking spiritually in a way, like, am I being like nudged by the universe to get out of this business because I've been doing it for so long, and my family is sick of me not being around. And
good questions to ask.
So I don't know. It's what I've always done. So I don't know how, almost like how to do anything. I could figure something else out, but my resume is only good to another culinarian.
Right, I hear you. Yeah. Well, I entered mural painting with very little knowledge about painting murals, just because I recognize, hey, I have a love for this and an attention span for this, and I'm just going. I believed that God-given ability should not be wasted, because I had friends telling me, man, if I had talent, I'd be doing something other than this, and I started to feel kind of conscience stricken.
Hey, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's no problem. No, go ahead.
I was going to ask you, when you first started mural painting, were you I would be scared to death, because, sure, you were much more confident in your abilities, but still, like, when you're first getting started, you're like, well, what if I don't paint that right? Or what if it comes out looking terrible?
Oh, yeah, that was there. It was stressful. There were lots of tears because, I'm not especially ashamed to cry. I've never really been a super masculine man. I'm a sensitive artist type, right? So I don't feel all that ashamed to cry about things, maybe a little. Anyway, my point is there were lots of tears because tears are from trying hard. Tears happen when you're trying really hard at something and it's not working. And the harder you try, the more you're stressing yourself out. And that's life. There is stress when you're trying to do something, trying to learn some skills you don't have. And so there were a lot of those moments for sure. What was even worse for me was the thought of never doing it. That was a terrible thought. I was seeing my first daughter grow up. I was a young dad, and my wife looking at me, wondering what my next move was going to be. I didn't want to let my family down.
Sure.
Is what I'm saying. And
so there is, I'm sorry. I
No,
just
no
want to make,
problem. And so that's what I
I just
landed
want to
on.
make
I was
sure I
like,
get these questions in a timely manner. So Mavis was kind enough to translate for Carolina,
oh, sweet.
Carolina.
That's great.
Thank you. Here, she's in the. Thank you. She's in the bed with the flu, so she's thanking you for the class. And
Oh, okay, sweet. I'm glad to hear that.
Camila has a question. Hey, Joe, can you tell me again what colors you used to make the rock looking to be underwater?
Oh yeah, I just, it's very simple. I just mixed my underwater color with it and then appropriately lightened it. I'll do another one so that's clear. Let me put my deep water out here. I'm getting darker and deeper. So this is that more turquoise. What I'm putting on right now is this one here to lighten that. And so up in here, I'm just using that color to get this to the lightness I need. And I'm gonna, maybe have less and less of the squigglies showing. So I'll freely mix more of it. This leads me to another probably important concept, not being afraid to paint dark. So you can see how much darker this is than my first go. What this does is it gives me lots of room to put colorful highlights. You can't do colorful highlights if you're already at a very light color in your painting. Makes it very hard to add any color. You can do white highlights, but any color makes it too dark, and then it's not a highlight anymore. So keeping things dark allows me to put lots of colorful highlights. That's what it does. Okay, I ran out of my dark colors right there.
Mavis says, is the sea foam going to go over the underwater rock, or is she jumping the gun?
Well, I didn't even put any sea foam in it so far, so I don't know if I'll even put any in. Should I even put sea foam? What do you think? Should I do that?
Well,
all I did was, or maybe Mavis is talking about these little squigglies, these underwater caustics. Maybe that's what she's referring. Yeah, they could go up onto the rock. It would be super cool to have that go up onto the rock. I think that'd be a very nice effect. So,
Mavis, can you tell me if that answered your question?
Yeah, right. I'm not sure if we're talking about adding actual additional sea foam or continuing this effect that I'm doing at this moment. I'm not sure on that one.
She said, yes, the little squigglies. So
yeah, right. Okay, got it. Yeah, very good observation. This painting, I think, would look super cool if I had it going up onto the rocks. Okay, so here I'm just continuing to push my light colors and dark colors around, but the paint's drying, so you can see I'm losing. The more I mix it, I'm starting to lose my effect in there. So that's probably the right amount. That's probably where I want to stop. Okay, let's do it. Let's put some little squigglies, and then I'm going to paint another rock for who was it that said that? Who asked about the little things on the
Camila, okay. I believe.
Yeah, Camilla. I'm going to paint another rock for Camilla. Thanks, Chase. Okay, so let's just use this color straight out of this thing. I'm going to take this little caustic. Maybe I'll add a little bit of orange to represent the rock. This is light on the rock. So this is what I mean. When I add color to a highlight, I want it to still be lighter than other colors. And you can run into situations where it's not. So that's why working dark can be an advantage, So let's put some little squigglies on this. I don't know where they would go. Let's just have some fun. You'd see them go down more, that's for sure. They're shining more downward. I'm going to take a dry brush and see if I can soften that a little bit. Here, let's try going up. Oh, it dried already. It was like instant drying. There we go. There's some on the rock. It's not like the best job I ever did, but you can see it there. Let's do some in here. We won't do a lot in here because that's going into the shadows. We don't have direct sunlight there. I could have done the same thing where I just did it with this same technique, but it seemed easy enough to just come in there and just paint a few of them on. Let's go like this. That was a good idea, Mavis. I think that's a nice little touch. Let's put some on the rock. We definitely see that all over the, you know, we have some beautiful streams and creeks here in Arizona that you'll see these for sure, going down the sides of rocks that go under the water. You would definitely see that. There we go.
Yeah,
Oh, that
looks
one
cool.
came out better. That was a better go. I got on it fast. And it really smeared it, and that stretched down thing kind of mimics the light hitting a downward surface. All right, cool. Nice. Okay, so then I'm gonna try to blend more of my dark, deeper watercolor in there. Let's switch cameras for a little bit. Let's see. How's this image look from your end, Chase?
Looks good.
How's the color? Can you see everything? Can you see all the colors?
Yeah, I can
good
see
in there?
everything. Looks pretty good.
Yeah, okay, I'll work on this from this angle for a little bit.
I'll let you know if you have to raise or lower.
Yeah, okay, just let me know. We're gonna go blue and phthalo green, get my watercolor out there. I'm gonna put a little bit of orange as it's coming in to my foreground, maybe a little yellow too here, get that dirt color right there, okay. And then I'm gonna take my yellower color here for the closer, shallower rather, water. And we'll go right in here with that. Get my bright little, I gotta think about my angles. I'm gonna stretch them this way so it kind of looks like the waves are flaring this way. There we go. Okay, like that. And then I'll get my more turquoise color. This is the more turquoise watered down paint. Like that. This is pretty fun, you know. This is not something I've done a lot of. So this is a technique I think worth trying to develop and master, because I think it has high potential to do really cool effects. I don't think I'm using it at its full potential. I feel like a newbie putting this in, you know. But
I'll tell you what, one thing that I have certainly learned from you is not to be afraid to just plop some paint down and just start over again. Whereas before I would be like, I can't mess that part up because it's like, you know, it looks perfect and I don't know if I can.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I hear you. Yeah, that is hard not to feel that for sure. Okay, now I've got my more horizontal shapes squished out here. Now I'm going to add some gray. So here is white and black. Now these paints are getting kind of skinned over on the top. So this is where I'm talking about paint maintenance. That may not be a big deal right here, but you know, if I just ignore that, I'll get stuck in some process later and I'll be fighting it. So here's what I do. I come down here, just do a quick stir. See that? See how I had all the pull and stretchy there? Now it's smoother again. Okay, just a few seconds. That's all it takes. Do this. And if this was in a little can or a pot, a thing like this, it'd be even easier. Maybe. Okay, done. Now my painting process is going to go smoother. You know, the paint's going to flow quicker and not give me a hard time. So remembering to do that is valuable. That's all I'm saying. Okay, I'm putting my gray color across the top. Got black and white there. Putting that in there. Gray is always a safe color to put for reflection when you're unsure what, you know, just as a base, any kind of a bluish sky reflecting on, you know, blue and gold make a very grayish purple. Yellow reflecting on gold makes a very gray result. So it's a safe color to land on when I'm unsure of my exact color scheme. Okay, and I'm just putting little stripes of that grayer color here and there, wherever I've got some darker bluer water to put it on. You know, thinking strategically, oh, it'll look good if I show all these different things happening. I've got some grayer color, I've got the caustics underneath. Okay. There we go. It's starting to blend with my background a little more now, and that's what I want. I want that blending. All right, so we'll scoot over here for a minute now that this is more dry and the plant effect that I'm after. I'm going to start with black and then use yellow for leaves. Just ignore the purple flowers. I can redo those. I'm going to put little dots of yellow, start pulling those out into, it's just the point of the brush. And as I kind of pull it across with I'm flexing my knuckles like this to just do short little pulling across, but I'm pulling it down at kind of 45 degrees instead of straight across like I did the first time, so that I have broader shapes, you see? And so if I have broader shapes in here, this is going to give the feel of foliage that I'm looking down on rather than looking outward toward. So the black mixing with that turns it to a very earthy green. Here's some black. I'm going over all my same spots again with that black. Here, let's make it a little brighter just for fun. Here, there's some of that phthalo green mixed with the black. I won't go straight on the yellow with the green. I'll mix it with black first and then like that. Put all my little leaves in, and now I'll put white on top of some of those to really bump them out. The paint is kind of drying quick on me, so we'll see. Yeah, it's enough. Okay, I got to stop there because it's too dry to work now. So I'm just going to put more of my greens going up into the shadows. Here's some more yellow, but I'm not going to add white to this yellow. We'll just go up in here. That's going to just disappear into the shadows, be some deeper foliage here. That got a little lighter than I wanted it. I want difference between my stuff coming.
Camilla says, what about that extra rock?
Oh, thank you, Camilla. I'm sorry. Let's stop there and paint the rock that I said I was going to paint. Oh, man. Thank you. That's good. Okay. Let's put another rock in here. This will be good. Let's put a rock. I'm just going to put a little one kind of right in here will be good. Okay. I had to think about that for a minute. So let's define where it is. We want this effect. We want squished, and then we want to go more and more vertical, more and more vertical. So a rock up here is going to be a real skinny sliver. A rock down here is going to be almost a circle, kind of like this effect. That's how I get that downward view, is really opening up the verticals as they go low. So this is low, so I'm going to make sure the bottom of my rock is curved. I'm just going through the whole process. I know that's not what you asked about, but I just want to make sure we're covering all the things I'm doing here. So here's black and orange to get my rock started. I'm making sure the bottom of it has some kind of a curve represented. It can be all jagged, but I just want to have parts on the edge that are much higher because of perspective if I want to maintain that feel of a downward angle. So I've got lots of curve on that rock. Okay, now I'm going to use white for my highlight, put a little yellow in there so that it matches the others, and we're going to make our highlight side of the rock. Here, let's put 2 highlights. Here, now it kind of has 1, 2. It's very much like sculpting. You start cutting away pieces. So now what's left is to do I'll take my leftover light colors. Now that there's less in the brush here, I'll get rid of a little bit. And I'll put some light on this side. See how I can put some light, but not as much? So I just do this when the brush has run out of my heavy light paint, but I still have a shadow. It just puts detail in my shadow just by putting a little bit of the light color in there, not a lot. There we go. Now it kind of looks like it's out in the daylight a bit more. Okay,
hey,
now it's missing the part where, go ahead, Jay, sorry.
What I've always admired about your work is when you're painting something, you always, it looks like a kind of like say a normal painting setup, and then you do some wild perspective with something that's so close to the canvas. You know what I mean? Or
Okay, yeah.
no, I
Yeah.
love it. I think it's fantastic. But I was wondering, how long did that take? A little while for you to come into naturally, or did you have to, you know?
Well, you're saying like the boldness, you're saying feeling confident to just like plow right over a pretty part with a new object and say, I'm gonna
Yeah,
fit
or
this in
you
here.
know, or when you're like, let's put a rock right in here, and it takes up half the right side of the
Yeah,
painting.
right. Right,
know,
yeah. Yeah.
and
Well,
I
you do it comes from hundreds of practice boards. Hundreds of practice boards, nothing sacred, it's all just for this reason I don't have a lot of pieces to sell, but I have a lot of control over techniques. I went the way of just focusing on techniques and scrapping finished work. So, it's just where my focus was. Yes, it took time. It took time to build up that confidence. So Camilla, the color I'm going to use is just my underwater colors for that area. So my underwater colors in that area were some of my turquoise. So I'll take some of this turquoise here, that phthalo green, phthalo blue. I call them that even though they're out of a can at the paint store, but they're made from the same chemicals. It's phthalo green and phthalo blue, practically speaking. Okay, we take that color and then I mixed that with orange and yellow for the foreground. So I'm kind of halfway into my light gold colored beach. So here's my yellow and orange. So something like this. I'm hoping this looks good. So I go in here and I'm just putting my surrounding underwater color on the picture. That's all I'm doing here. This is probably a better shot for this. Here's my underwater color, but it's very dark. No problem. I'm going to take the watered down. I'm taking my same technique that I use with my watered down paint right here. And then I'm going to lighten this on that rock. So all it is really when it comes to making a rock go underwater, it's just mixing the underwater color with that rock. That's all I'm doing. Just taking the rock color. So I'm bringing this up onto my black orange rock like this. And since I'm getting this all while it's still wet, I'm also getting my little light squiggles, That's kind of a convenient thing that didn't happen on the others. Okay, and it could be, like I was saying before, the underwater portion could be lighter than the rock. It could be darker than the rock. It depends on what you're wanting to portray. But this is a common effect where the shadowed side of the rock is illuminated by the light that's trapped in this water. That light hits the surface, it bounces everywhere, shines on everything. And so you'll have a lighter under the water if there's a real illuminated spot like this. So it's a fun effect to have in there. But the short answer is it's just my underwater color right here mixed. Just the underwater color. So I'm gonna try to real carefully put skinny little bits. I had to reapply my rock color. So here's some black. And I'm trying to make that thinner as it wraps around so it just disappears. Okay, now I'm going to get my turquoise watered down color that you see right here for the deeper water right in there, and just a little bit. See, that was kind of a lot. I didn't want that much. Here, let's just.
So we've got a question from. Am I
Go
thick
ahead.
yet? We've got a question from. Am I thick yet?
Okay.
One of the biggest things I've learned about making art is that you really want to look at other artists and learn from them. Problem is I end up comparing myself, which can be disheartening. Any advice?
Man, oh yeah, for sure. Okay. The advice I have for you is surround yourself with encouraging people and believe what they say. The art environment can be just like that. I hate it. I hate that part of it. The pressure to perform like another artist. I don't, being able to recognize your worth outside. And let me just tell you, I just want to communicate clearly here. So I'm looking at the camera to tell you, you are not the sum of your work. It has nothing to do with your value. When you die, people are not going to say, it's too bad that you died because now I can't have you paint pictures for me. No one's going to think that. You have to disconnect your value from your work. And I had to do that too. I was told over and over as a young child, you're going to be famous. You're a great artist. You're a great artist. Well, by the time I was a teenager, I was wondering if I was anything but that. And if I wasn't that, I was going to be a disappointment to the whole world. So I protected it. It was really dear to me. And I didn't let anyone come in with instruction. And then when I realized that the success and career were not going to be given to me for free, I disowned it. I worked at the grocery store. I worked on a paint crew. I did ordinary jobs, worked at a fast food restaurant, just ordinary jobs, and behaved as though I were not even an artist. And it was just something that would come up in conversation. It was like a little trick to pull out of my little party trick. Oh, I can draw a portrait. But I didn't invest in it because the way to invest in it would have been that process of trying to get it up to a standard so that people would purchase. You know what I mean? That was really hard. So I had to go through a time in life that was stressful and humbling, where it was like, well, you can live the rest of your life like this, running from that, or you can admit that you can't do stuff. Just admit that there's stuff you can't do and start the process of learning from others. I started asking questions to other artists. Some would answer, some wouldn't. And I found myself very annoyed, very perturbed at trade secrets. And then I made it I'm segueing into a little bit of a different story, but I became so passionate about YouTube videos for this exact reason. I thought, man, every time I find an answer, I'm going to post it on YouTube for free, because I can't stand that people keep these things secrets when I'm just trying to make an honest living for my family. I hate that. I hated it. People have the reasons, I know, but when it comes to like creativity and art, I just couldn't stand that people were like, hiding answers. It didn't happen a lot. And then I ran into one gentleman that had said, I had expressed the joy that I had recently found in teaching people how to do it. And he said, yeah, but you and I both know that it's something you got to be born with. And I didn't have a good argument against him at that moment. I just knew I hated the way that sounded. I just hated the spirit of it. And so, that's my story. I got off track from the question, though. In my opinion, I just want you to believe the truth, that you are so much more valuable than your artwork, and just be surrounded by people that will remind you of that and believe it because it's true. Okay. Now I'm just tidying up my rock. That's it, Camilla. That's how we do the underwater part of the rock. We just mix the underwater colors with it. It looks like, maybe I could get a little with this will all look better if I touch up, my base here. I didn't do that part yet, so I'll do that. We'll go orange. We'll put phthalo green in here. This is a shadowed area, so let's see how this comes out if I don't use the blue, but I just use the orange and phthalo green for my base. And then I go to my yellower color. That's this one down here. I went to this one. These are my two colors for doing the light in the water. And then I go here and lighten this up, but I want it to be all just a touch darker than this stuff over here, because I want the shadow of my boulder cast in the water right here, like that. So maybe, and my rock, I put my rock in there without even considering that. I need a shadow on my rock as well. Okay, here's my orange colors here. We need more orange in here. That's all very green. Let's put orange. See how that orange just immediately takes out that green? This is the shadow of this boulder in here. Here we'll get a different view. And I'm not going to put as many of the squiggles in here because there's not the direct sunlight to cause that. Maybe just a little bit because it's a fun look. Okay, we go like that. And now I'm going to adjust my rock. I need to make it fit in this picture. I need a little bit of a shadow on that. So let's go like this. A good shadow color on something that's kind of a yellow orange would be a very gray blue violet. So here is blue, and I don't have anything to make it purple. Let's see what the orange does. This is a very reddish orange, so it might make just the slightest bit. Just the slightest bit. That might make a good shadow color. Put that on there. This is going to be my shadow color. So when you're doing a shadow, the first priority is getting the right darkness. It's a shadow. It has an amount of light on it. You don't want to make it too dark or too light. If you go too dark, it looks like a hole in the rock or some other object. Yeah, it needs to compare with the brightnesses throughout the painting. So trial and error will get it there. There we go. So that's a nice darkness. It doesn't get confused with this or with other like holes and things. So we've got a shadow on the rock going across, corresponds with this shadow. So now I need a shadow under there as well. So I'm just going to do a little bit of that more turquoise underwater color and some black. Let's see if we can do that. Here we go. I just want it the tiniest bit lighter than that color right there, just the tiniest bit. So you feel when you're painting like you need to make differences more extreme than it feels like, what am I even painting? It's not even making a difference. But if you examine photographs, you see that the differences between edges and values can be very tiny, very small differences, and we actually do get a lot of information visually out of those things. So this tiny difference in brightness is exactly what I care about. Okay, so that goes under the water, has a little bit more shadow there. It comes into the light here, gets a little, I don't know if it gets brighter there. Maybe not. Maybe that was wrong. We'll just put a couple little bright spots, call that good. Okay. And now I think I'm going to tidy up my beach here. How are we doing on time, Chase?
That's so funny you should ask, because I was just getting on. You're about an hour and 20.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to wrap it up here. We can always continue this painting. This is kind of fun. We'll continue it again. First chance I get, perhaps next Saturday. Okay, so I'm going to put reflection on my beach again. And so, blue sky, we're going to get a little bit of a purplish color, and it worked on my rock with blue and orange. Let's see if blue and orange can create just enough of a grayish blue violet. I think it can. Yeah, there we go. That's enough. And that just gives a little bit of reflection to the sand. And then I immediately, and that gives me an even more intensified glow effect on my water too. It really looks like it's glowing. If I want it to look like it's less of a sharp change, this is a very sudden change from water to no water, then I just do a little bit of a gradient on there. So watch, a little bit of orange and yellow to represent those underwater colors there, a little bit of my greenish color. It's got a little bit of a turquoise hue to it. Let's try that. And we'll add our bright yellow caustics color to it. Let's go like this. All I'm doing is making it a slightly more gradual transition instead of an instant sharp line transition. That's all. So we grab some of these, dab it in. And let me grab some of this right here. There we go. So I can actually make the look, a fun thing is that you can actually make the look of a wave rolling in just by putting a bright line, because of the way it's just because we're all familiar with that sight. It's like when you see a bright line, it looks like the base of that water rolling in. So if I want that effect in there, then it's not too hard to do it once I have these colors all lined out. Okay, there we go. I'm just putting little bits of that to make shallower water and making sure my shapes are small. Shapes are smaller in the shallower water. Let's put just a little touch of the more turquoise color in here. I'll spread that out. Spread it out. I don't want a lot of it. I just want it a little. Like this, trying to do little shapes. Little shapes. Like that. It would be kind of fun to put some kind of a rolling wave into there. Yeah, so for example, if I were to take this color and try to put like a highlight, we might, if I really aim, let's see if this works. I'm going to really aim for the bottom edge of light spots that are already there. Like this.
Hey, Joe. Black Diamond has a question.
Okay,
For
go for it.
sharp and soft edges, how do you determine where to use them?
Right, so that's a very general question. There's when I want a sharp edge, and we have talked about this a lot in the Super Peer classroom. So it's a wide subject that deserves lots of demonstration. So there's recorded videos on this exact thing, but I will tell you what I'm able in this short time. And that is that sharp edges create the end of an object, creates the end of an object. Where one object stops and a new object begins, we have a sharp edge. And so when you want to make an object such as this emerge from another object, you use a soft edge, and I'm going to call it a gradient. So this gradually goes from the dark shadow to my bright greens, and so that causes it to emerge from that object. It connects the objects together and says that one is emerging from the other. So I get a lot of depth with that gradient. But notice that the sharp edge right below is the end of that object and causes an extreme overlap. And so which one is overlapping which one depends on context, whether the dark is in front of the light or the light is in front of the dark. We just know from context on this one that this light green is the leaves on top of the dark gray shadow. So a sharp edge is what we use to create I'm just going to generalize it to the very end of an object. So I use a sharp edge here to make the end of a cave. You know, think of this being a cave. It's a cavern. It goes deep under the plant. I could do that in a rock as well. If I came over to this rock, then I could go sharp edge right here. That does the same effect as this right here. And then a soft edge will make this side gradually connecting to the bottom of the rock. So if I go orange and white, those were my colors to get this shadowed side. Okay, I'll make a gradient that makes the edge get softer and softer. Let's borrow some of this black. I'm trying to match the color right there. We're going to try to match this like this. So we're going soft edge at the bottom so that it gradually emerges, submerges, either one, gradually connects with this part, but then the sudden change of the sharp edge creates the overlap on the top like this. Okay, gradient here, sharp edge here. I'll put gradient on this edge. So the sharper the edge gets, the more it looks like the overlap. The softer the edge gets, the more it looks like, you see how that it ends up looking like a hole in the rock. And so then if I soften some of these edges more gradually, here, let's soften it all the way up and just leave one little spot of this, a hard edge. This is going to be a soft edge. I don't want that white there. I'm just using it to lighten my gray. Let's go like this. Okay, soft edge, it gets sharper, it gets sharper. We're going to go like this, try to match that color. I just want to match it. I'm not trying to get a lighter color right there. Okay, let me get just a little more black. Okay, gets softer edge as it goes this way. So the effect of a soft edge is connection. It connects two objects gradually together. where a sharp edge just divides between them. It just separates them. There we go. So now we've got the hole going that way. Now I'm going to put a gradient on this side to make it look more organic. We'll make this edge softer too. So let's take this and make that edge softer like this. Gradients and edges. We just finished talking all about gradients and edges. Super important concept. So great question. I'm glad you fired that in right at the last moment here. That was a good little piece of value to add to this video. This is a more scientific breakdown and demonstration of what soft edges, hard edges do. Okay, so here I create a curve on the rock gradually going into the shot. Here, I'll zoom in to really analyze this and see how we're sculpting shapes with this. Did my video freeze? Oh, am I on the wrong camera? Oh, here. There we go. That's what I'm trying to do. I zoomed and I didn't see anything from it. This camera zooms better. We can go like this. And you'll see that if I have this getting darker, it's gradually connecting with that shadow right here. And so I didn't mean to put that black spot on there. Let's get rid of that here. Let's get rid of this. Okay, it gets darker. Let's make it get lighter on the edge of the rock. So this is my lighter color. Okay, see how it gradually gets darker as it moves toward. But then it gets deeper as it's connecting with that shadow, so it creates a curve. But then I can create a horizon on that curve where it stops with a sharp line that is after my gradient. So this edge has the gradient right after that creates a curve. So wherever I want that curve to stop, I just put a sharp edge. And it doesn't even have to be a high contrast sharp edge. It can get darker before it hits that sharp edge, but the sharp edge creates the edge on that curve. Okay, that's it. That's the effect that we have from sharp edges versus soft edges. I'm going to mess with this and put a little more texture. See, now it's a volcanic rock. It's got some little pits and bubbles in it, like that. We can have some fun adding all kinds of texture to things by doing that. You know, it really does end up feeling like you're sculpting when you use that purposefully. Okay, I'm going to zoom out. Here we are. And I feel like the mission was partly accomplished today. I wanted my perspective to look a little bit more natural, the downward angle here, not everything looking like I'm looking straight out. I think I got some of that in there. And so now, you know, I'd like to put like a little boat with the shadow cast on the underwater, just like this shadow cast on that water. You know, I think that'll be cool. And, you know, there's other things to add to this for sure, but I'm happy with the way it's turning out.
That looks great.
Looks kind of funny with things being incomplete. You know, I don't want this here anymore. I want all that to go away. I want to quit. I want to go home right now, but see, this is it. This is the attention span for art that I'm talking about. I get sucked into it and I can just stay there. And then things don't get done and I get in trouble, you know, because in the meantime, I have yard work that needs finished. But I really want to see this little spot go away. I'm going to do this real quick. There's some orange. I'm going to put this in here. There we go. I just wanted to see that background of water behind that rock so that I have the perspective opening up a little bit more there. There. Let's get this dark color and put it down here. Dark right there. Like that. Just working on this one little spot here. This is the last thing. This is the last thing right here. Here's some black and white. Get that grayish reflection in there as I go back further and further. like that. Okay, how's it looking out there, Chase?
It looks great.
It's good. I
Yeah,
really appreciate you taking the time to do the reading off the comments, being my moderator for the day.
no problem.
Very
Anytime.
nice. I appreciate that. This was a free stream. This is a Saturday morning free stream here, so it's a different crowd. It's kind of fun.
Hey, Joe, I got Jacob's got a question here. Let me put on
Okay.
my old man glasses here.
Yeah. Okay. Tell me what it is.
I just got an art gig this weekend to sell my paintings and paint live while people from the community are looking at paintings. One of my questions
Nice.
is what are some of the biggest factors that make a painting look finished? A lot of my paintings look good from a distance, but are very unpleasant to look at up close. I'm wondering if you need to add more paint to get the finished look.
Okay. I think the number one contribution to a finished look is clean edges, where you have, we were just talking about gradients and edges. So if I go through a painting at the end, it doesn't matter what detail is like inside of my rock. If the very edge, okay, for example, look at the edge of this rock here. This makes it look unfinished. It's up close. So I'm going to ignore everything else, all the other details, because this edge on the edges of all my objects, that's where the biggest visual difference is made for the least amount of work. So all I'll do is come down here, mix a gray color. Let's say we've got black and white and orange, a little bit of orange for that, but mostly gray. I'm going to take this gray color right here, and I'm going to go up to that edge, and I'm going to make it nice and clean like this. One line, just one line. Okay, there we go. Now I have that clean, sharp edge. Same thing with this edge. Okay, let's do that. And it's your decision. But when you clean up your edges, all of the imperfections within the boundaries of those edges are very forgivable. So just get the edges really tightened up and you'll be golden. Your whole picture will just look like art. We always expect to see paintbrush strokes and things that don't look like a photograph. We expect that because it's artwork. But it has a feeling of completeness when we just clean up the edges everywhere where it's appropriate. Not every object needs a sharp edge, but where it's appropriate.
And Joe, I noticed you use gray for that. And is that gray just implying the reflection of everything behind it?
Yes, exactly. Well said. Implying the reflection of everything behind it. It's just a safe color to put on there, just like it's a safe color to put on the water. That's it. I could experiment with other colors on there as well, but what really matters is it's a clean edge of similar value. Value meaning lightness or darkness. So similar value to this and a clean edge, that rock ends up looking nice and finished. All right, I'm gonna stop it right there. Oh, other camera.
Jacob said, I love that. Thank you, Joe. I have lots of edges to clean up. I'm glad you pointed that out.
Okay, sweet. So immediately you can see that big difference can be made. And a lot of those edges probably can just be a shade of gray and make the picture just immediately look so much more finished. All right, great question. Man, that's exciting. I'm really happy for you. You're painting live in a place where you can sell your work. That is so cool. So the next thing, when I do this video next time, this is hurting my eyes. I don't like that right there. It's so, everything in this picture looks, I like it so much better from here down. But then when it gets to this, it's like that big old thing in the way. So I don't want it to go away completely. I want to make the perspective feel appropriate. That'll be my next job, among other things. My next project. Okay, good seeing you all. I appreciate you watching. Thanks, Chase. It was a good time. Don't forget, you can come here too, just in case you didn't see already. You can come over here to superpeer.com right there. if you want to call in, just like Chase did, just like Mavis, just like anybody else does it. We do it on Mondays and Thursdays in the afternoon. You come and you can be part of the live lessons every single week. It's a lot of lessons. And Chase, you can vouch for me on this. We have definitely seen a lot of improvement happening in a very encouraging community, encouraging atmosphere, a lot of improvement just from the practice, from the very directed practice.
It's amazing, and I think I said something to Mavis last time, but I mean, people's work are getting so much better, and like Mavis is developing her own style, which I don't even know if she realizes, but it's I can tell her stuff right away. Everybody's. I mean, it's so fast. It's coming so fast.
Okay. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Thank you for saying that, Chase. I appreciate it. Okay, everybody, good seeing you. We'll see you next time, or maybe we'll see you right here on Super Peer as well. Have a good weekend.